of federal grants and loans go out the door while students are left with education that is not worthy. So I was actually surprised a few weeks ago when your department quietly rescinded $37 million fine that was placed against Grand Canyon University. Can you explain why that happened?
Let me think for a second. Let me review my notes on that because there were a couple of things I wanted to make sure I covered with you. We really found that the accusations against Grand Canyon, which is a faith-based organization, and we looked at all the facts of the case.
I am familiar with the university.
Really,
my question is, how are those students going to be made whole if you are not allowing the university to pay the fines? What's the plan?
I'm not sure that that's the right analysis of it, but I will look into it further and get back to you.
And you'll give me back a writing?
Yes, I will.
Writing? Okay. Because we know that, the president in whom you serve had a fraudulent university called Trump University, and he himself settled 3 lawsuits before becoming president.
Trump supporter sparks laughter in Congress after confronting Ilhan Omar. Congress ERUTPS in laughter as Trump supporter turns the tables confronting Ilhan Omar. Go back to Somalia and take that racist shit with you. What happens when millions of students are left waiting while powerful institutions walk away unscathed? A heated congressional exchange has reignited national debate over student loan fraud and government accountability. At the center of the moment is a controversial decision involving a $37 million fine quietly rescinded. Lawmakers are demanding answers, but clarity remains elusive. This hearing pulls back the curtain on how borrower protections are enforced or ignored. It raises serious questions about who the system truly protects. Students across the country are watching closely, many of them carrying debt they believe should never have existed. The tension in the room reflects years of frustration. Oversight, transparency, and responsibility are all on trial. The issue is not abstract, it affects real lives and real futures. Borrowers approved for relief remain stuck in limbo. Civil rights investigations are piling up unanswered. Legal teams meant to guide enforcement have reportedly been dismissed. Promises of follow-up responses replace direct commitments. Each unanswered question deepens public concern. Trust in institutions is strained. Accountability feels increasingly distant. The exchange highlights a growing disconnect between policy and people. It also exposes the cost of bureaucratic delay. Students facing discrimination are left waiting. Debt continues to accumulate, while answers are postponed.
The gentleman, I recognize now the gentlelady from Minnesota, Ms. Omar.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Madam Secretary, for being here with us. Is it fair to assume that you are aware that when a loan borrower is defrauded by a school, that there is a provision in law called the borrower defense?
Yes, I am.
Okay. It is a straightforward concept. A student should not be forced to repay loans to schools that lied to them. We know that millions of federal grants and loans go out the door while students are left with education that is not worthy. So I was actually surprised a few weeks ago when your department quietly rescinded $37 million fine that was placed against Grand Canyon University. Can you explain why that happened?
Let me think for a second. Let me review my notes on that because there were a couple of things I wanted to make sure I covered with you. We really found that the accusations against Grand Canyon, which is a faith-based organization, and we looked at all the facts of the case.
I am familiar with the university.
Really,
my question is, how are those students going to be made whole if you are not allowing the university to pay the fines? What's the plan?
I'm not sure that that's the right analysis of it, but I will look into it further and get back to you.
And you'll give me back a writing?
Yes, I will.
Writing? Okay. Because we know that, the president in whom you serve had a fraudulent university called Trump University, and he himself settled 3 lawsuits before becoming president. We know that there are roughly 1.4 million borrowers who have been approved for a borrower defense discharge and are still waiting for that process. How are you clearing out that backlog?
In terms of the borrowed defense funds? Oh, there are lists of that. I'll be happy to get back to you with those numbers.
Okay. And while those students wait, can you give us a commitment that you are not going to collect that debt?
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that, as to what the situation is. And
I don't understand how that's a difficult question to say yes to. They've been defrauded. They are waiting for relief. While they wait for their relief,
Well, if
they shouldn't have to pay back that debt.
well, if they've been defrauded and it's been adjudicated that they've been defrauded, then I will get back to you as to what the time frame is and why there's a holdup if there is.
Okay.
I'm not sure as I sit here right now.
Wonderful. There was, I know that you've been questioned a lot on IDEA and its funding. I won't relitigate those questions. I just have 2 particular questions to address, or 2 areas to address. We know that the IDEA, that you have gotten rid of the legal team that guides the states in implementation. How are you going to rectify that?
I don't know what you mean by we've gotten rid of the legal team. We have had some reduction in force of
There was a
members.
firing of the entire legal team.
Well, we have other lawyers in place at the Department of Education, and we are
The
fully...
entire team that was for IDEA has been fired. So how are you addressing that?
Because we have other lawyers who are in place that can handle those things. And as I mentioned before, we have not missed any of our statutory requirements.
Well, I do believe that that firing hurts the implementation. We also know that you have gutted the Office of Civil Rights when there is already investigation backlog. How are you going to fix the discrimination claim cases that are out there?
Well, there are, excuse me, there are cases that we're looking into. And again, we have not missed any of our statutory requirements in terms of OCR. We also have a task force.
There is a backlog. There are a lot of
There is a backlog
There are a lot of
because we
kids in our schools that are waiting for relief. When you get rid of the people that are supposed to carry out those investigations, how are you to assure that those kids will not continue to be harmed? We are talking about so many situations in where kids are being discriminated against, and you got rid of the people that investigate those investigations so those kids can protect themselves from from discrimination.
Well, we still have a very strong and capable staff in OCR. At the
Then
Department
you
of
wouldn't have
Education.
a backlog if that was the case. There is a current backlog, and
Well,
I would
excuse me.
love for you to stop just saying words and to actually do the work that you are charged by statute, and I yield back.
This moment is about more than a fine. It is about whether justice is applied evenly. It is about whether fraud has consequences. And it is about whether those harmed will finally be heard. Linda McMahon's testimony ultimately reflects a commitment to process, due diligence, and responsible governance. Throughout the exchange, she emphasizes the importance of reviewing facts carefully before making sweeping determinations. Rather than offering rushed promises, she signals a willingness to respond with documented answers and verified information. This approach underscores respect for the rule of law and institutional procedure. Managing a federal department of this scale requires precision, not impulse. McMahon makes clear that decisions involving fines, borrower defense, and enforcement are complex and cannot be reduced to sound bites. She reinforces that statutory requirements are still being met. She also highlights that existing staff and legal frameworks remain in place to carry out the department's mission. In an environment of heightened political pressure, restraint matters. Her insistence on reviewing records before committing to outcomes reflects administrative responsibility. It shows an effort to avoid misinformation or premature conclusions. The department's obligation is not only to borrowers, but to legal fairness and accuracy. McMahon's responses suggest a focus on long-term solutions rather than short-term optics. She acknowledges backlogs without denying them. She maintains that systems are functioning, while recognizing areas that require attention. That balance is critical in public service leadership. Effective governance often happens away from the spotlight. Follow-up in writing allows transparency without speculation. Careful review protects both students and institutions from error. Leadership sometimes means resisting pressure to oversimplify complex issues. McMahon's approach signals stability during controversy. It reinforces confidence in administrative continuity. It affirms that decisions will be guided by evidence, not rhetoric, and it positions the department to address concerns methodically, responsibly, and within the bounds of the law.